Everybody, we're back with another movie review for the month of February. Happy belated Valentine's Day to everyone. Hope you have like a nice romantic time with your spouse or someone. If you don't, like me, or you're single, hope you just had like a nice holiday. Just you yourself and I, no stress. Don't have to worry about spending money when it doesn't need to be, that kind of thing. Yeah, the new review is something like I remember watching a lot as a kid. Well, kid-ish, young adult, late teens. The Jamie Foxx Morris Chestnut movie, Breaking All the Rules. It was a romantic comedy movie, and I remember watching this on DVD a lot. And man, is this ahead of its time? Especially when we got like things like the Manosphere, like Fresh and Fit, Pearly Things, Melanie King, where you're talking about like relationships, but not necessarily from the perspective of the woman's point of view. This is like something like this is like the if Hitch, another movie starring Will Smith that I reviewed up on the channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Please check that out. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, you guys have been amazing. My recent videos have been just blowing up, and I recently got like a lot more subscribers. Once again, because I mentions every once in a while, if we get to 400 subscribers, I will do a Hot Ones challenge video where I'll buy the hot sauces that was on the show and try them out on different chicken wings live on, because I haven't done a milestone video since my one chip challenge once I reached the 100 subscriber marker. So it's nearly 300 plus cents. So if we get to that point, I will do a Hot Ones challenge video and live for you guys. And if you're joining me live as I do it, you can ask me questions while I try to get through them as I'm eating the hot sauce. Anyway, like and subscribe and to the links in the description below. Check out my Patreon as well, patreon.com/talkativecarl, where you can put in a certain request for movie, TV shows, or just some particular discussion videos that you want me to actually talk about and give my thoughts on. You can check out the tier list, very cheap, so you don't have to break the bank on it. So you gotta check that out. Links are in the description. Anyway, like I said, this movie is kind of ahead of its time, where like Hitch, where it's a method for guys who doesn't have the necessary game, or didn't have the know-how, or just the same skill set that the better peers had, with getting with women so easily. And Will Smith's character Hitch gives them the proper tools in order to navigate, to avoid the pitfalls of relationships, in order to get with a woman of your ideal dreams. Breaking All the Rules is pretty much Jamie Foxx opposite version of that, where if you're in dead-end relationships and you want to get out of it swiftly and painlessly as possible, this is like a good, it's not like 100% foolproof. None's 100% foolproof, but it's just like a really good like play-by-play, where it's like his character Quincy actually like did like some research, because he applied some science to breaking up, which is kind of the same way as I go through the story, like firing somebody. And the method typically where certain companies have let people go is the way you do it, where you don't generate, as he puts it, like a potential stalker or anything like that. So anyway, the movie stars Jamie Foxx as Quincy Watson, Philip Gascon as Peter McNichol as Philip Gascon, Morris Chestnut as Evan Fields, Quincy's cousin, Gabrielle Union as Nikki Callas, Jennifer Esposito as Rita Monroe, Bianca Lawson as Helen Sharp, Jill Ritchie as Amy, and Danny Kamen as Sam. So basically, we got Quincy Watson, who's like an editor at this firm, I'm pretty sure it's like just like a like a story editor for a magazine company, and the company is going through some bit of downsizing. Now his boss, Philip, charged him with letting people go, because given his academics in college and everything like that, he figured it would be best suited to find a way to let he has like a long list, but at least maybe like top, at least at the very least 10 at the most on a list. But he brings up about don't you have like an HR person to do something like this? But it's like, yeah, but I have to let him go. And it's a funny little moment. It's like, yeah, he's actually threatened to hit me with the like a golf club, and he states the specific club, and he points out like, yeah, it's very specific. So Quincy actually had to gather a bunch of different books on terminations and stuff like that. All at the same time, he's planning an engagement party because he's engaged to this girl named Helen. And as she eventually comes to the party, she goes there and breaks up with him. And it was grimy the way she did it too, because first of all, she started crying. That little, it's always like a crazy, it's like, I don't want to cast like a wide net over all women, but you all have done it one point or another. Y'all can't help yourselves. Y'all, it's kind of like a defense mechanism when y'all start pulling on the waterworks just so you can gain sympathy immediately. But then she hits him with she's leaving for Paris with Quincy's best man. And the only the thing I immediately that came to mind is she's for the streets. This girl, she ain't nothing. I don't know who was this guy's best man, but obviously both of them ain't nothing. The fact that you just do this to this dude, and it didn't, because he mentioned that she's in her 23, 24, something like that. So she's young, but she's still old enough to, if the relationship wasn't going nowhere, be an adult and tell this person straight up, what was not working, and so that we can move on properly. Of course, there's always gonna be somebody getting hurt, but it's the way you did it makes it so much worse. So, of course, Quincy is in disarray. He, it's, we all been through those kind of breakups. It's it's all is lost kind of mindset. But while at home, he because nobody seen him in a while, so his cousin Evan comes over and sees that Quincy is just in his bathroom. He got a pile of papers, and he brings up, which is kind of like, it shows, like, because not many people points, because not many women can, either care nor wants to understand the plight on a man's side. Like I said, this is ahead of its time, because especially it's only in recent years where you got these forums, bringing up about like certain things that women don't understand nor care. Most don't care to about how men are treated, because you don't think like men have feelings too. Most girls, treat us like big, ATM machines that can move stuff around for them. And he points out that, Helen just, left, the dog, the little pug, and a half-naked picture of herself. And he points out, like, I gave that woman everything but my soul. And like, as a quick, funny, retort from Evan, like, yeah, I bet they want that too. And he, Quincy brings us like, it's just that's greedy. And there are women like that. There are. And you can like it or not, but women like that is like, just, take advantage. Or, it's just like she's, so self-centered, and the whole princess mentality where it's like, at least most women, on like they spend, ever since they turned 13 or 14, hit puberty, all their lives, at least up from like, because most girls don't realize that beauty has a shelf life, from like their, mid-teens to, late 20s, that's where they peak of their beauty and options, and not realizing, like, if they got a solid dude, there are a few women in the world that's like, finesse them or play them. So Quincy is just like disheveled, and he was intending to write a letter to Helen about discussing the way she, broke up with him. But then it evolved into like a manual. Because while he was in his, not really in a good headspace, while at the same time going over all these books on how terminating people, and he started putting two and two together. Okay, and then he goes over the table of contents with Evan, and he points out, like, why break up at her place? Well, you control, who exits, essentially, because you go, if you plan on breaking up somebody, you go over their place, and when you break up with them, you can just leave, but nobody's going to leave out their own house, which makes sense. Because if you go in a neutral space, they can just follow you. And Evan eventually go on this field test, because Evan's that typical kind of player dude in these type of rom-coms, and he helps Quincy get published, and he becomes, Quincy becomes like a best-selling author over time, because everybody's like wants to know how to get out of dead end relationships. Of course, most women probably will view that as like misogynist or what have you. Even though they, this day and age, people throw around the word misogyny without knowing what the heck it means, really. Because, majority of guys don't hate women. There's only those very rare few, those actual scumbags who, put their hands on women, or, over because, the tuna casserole is cold one night kind of thing. Those guys don't really count. But, he made this book in order to help both parties, if you think about it, get out of dead end relationships that's not progressing, and you want to do it as painlessly as possible. And I tried looking this up because it's a shame that there wasn't actually no, a list of the rules or chapters from said book from the movie. It was, it's kind of crazy that they didn't put that anywhere on the internet. But then you get the introduction of a girlfriend of Evans who apparently has like a 3-month rule of dating a woman before he cuts her loose. And she sees, while she's getting her hair done, she sees Quincy on a TV being interviewed, and she points out like, oh, that's my boyfriend's cousin and everything like that, and they never met, which I found shocking. Or at the very least, maybe not shocking, but at the very least, neither one of them know what each other look like, because this kind of, spirals later on in the movie. And she kind of like dismisses him offhand because like why would anyone want to be with somebody whose main income is or philosophy is dumping people? And it's like, that's kind of hypocritical. Most people have dumped people, and it's like you can't get mad at them for writing a book about it. Then Evan and Quincy talk. Evan points out that how like he's gonna eventually cut Nikki loose because her 3 month is almost up. But he mentions about like her long sexy black hair, and this is like a weird part, and I never understood this in the film, where like because she planned on cutting her hair, because she had like a dream about Halle Berry, and and taking it as a sign that she needs to cut her hair. It was always like a drastic thing. And he has like a some kind of, I don't know, a psychic connection between his groin and every time her hair is getting cut, he feels like a sharp pain. It's so weird. I don't know. I never understood that. And Quincy warns him about like she might want to end up breaking up with you before you get to break up with her, and you gotta look out for the signs about like, baby, I think we need to talk. And I'm sure, like, yeah, of course, sure. I remember having this kind of discussion with my ex a long time ago, that because she said this quote. It's like, I don't know why like girls don't realize the kind of things they're saying. No, it's not a good sign when you use words, baby, I think we need to talk, in a sentence, because it's never a good sign. It always follows up with some bad news. Maybe not breaking up with you necessarily, but it's always some kind of bad news that we might, by and large, won't like to hear. It's just like a known fact. I'm not sure they ever eventually caught on and been understood universally, but that is the case. But Evan eventually goes over to her house. She's freaking out because she has second thoughts about the whole cut hair, and she used the words, "Baby, I think we need to talk." He gets scared off, and he goes to Quincy to say like, meet her at this club and talk him up, so that way, because he doesn't want to be the one who the breakup he wants to be the breakup. It's very childish, obviously. So Quincy goes to the club that he suggested, but because of the the poor description he provided, he doesn't know what she looked like. He's like, oh, she got long black hair. I'm not sure why he decided to just go with that. That's like, dude, I don't need more, because he says like later, it's like, I didn't realize how many ladies in LA has long black hair. Duh, have you lived? It's like, I've seen women with long black hair since I was young enough to process information. So it's like, you why didn't you follow up? Okay, what other features does she have besides her name and the long black hair? Do you have a picture? I'm pretty sure you took through the 3 months time cycle. You got at least took a picture together, or something, or at least camp out in front of her house and point her out, so that way he'll know exactly what this girl looks like, so that way can avoid all this mess. But anyway, he sits at the bar, happen to be right next to Nikki, and they strike up a conversation. She recognizes him and lied, said like, "Oh, my name is Mary," just to, because you girls don't realize how strategic you can be. It's almost, you do it on default almost, where it's like you're always scheming in some way or fashion, just to usually try to pry information from somebody. So she lies to him, finds out that Evan's a player and he has this 3-month rule, and so these two end up hanging out, while at the same time Evan's hiding out at Quincy's house and bumps into Philip's gold digging girlfriend, who finds out that, because Quincy has been charged by his boss to find a way to help him break up with this woman who knows, who he knows is not good for him, and is only after for his money. And of course, Philip's secretary ratted him out and told her, so now she is like doing all the polar opposite of what he's been told to do, so that way she can avoid being broken up with. And this all spirals because, Evan, said, I'll pretend to be you because I want to, hook up with your groupies, because, Quincy ain't, he's still not in the headspace with, getting up back on that horse after the whole situation with Helen. So he tell him yeah, just pretend to be me, fine. You next time a groupie shows up, you can go ahead, pretend to be me and do whatever. So he assumes that Rita is another potential groupie and hooks up with her, while Quincy and Nikki, under the guise of Mary, have a nice night out. And there's a good moment in the scene where they having dinner together, and they had a discussion on crazy equates to love, and she finds it baffling that he would think that, and it's because love is crazy, because if he told her bite through your own flesh. I was like, no, because I don't bite through my own flesh because I'm sane. He says that's the same thing. If you don't bite through your own flesh, that means you're selfish. And of course, it's kind of over dramatic, but essentially he's putting it that insane people will do all kinds of things for love, and maybe not to the extreme of actually biting through your own flesh, like doing this, because you can't bite through your own flesh, but because it's self-preservation, it's a rational thing. But we all been through a moment when you're in a relationship, or even especially fresh into a relationship, you're willing to do all kinds of stuff for your partner because you was that into them. How many times guys spent an obscene amount of money on a girl they are into? How many times girls stayed with guys that were pieces of crap? Not saying stuff. So, I'm using those as a string, but we all done things that's on rational thought you wouldn't never do in any other circumstances. So I really like the discussion. It's really kind of thoughtful discussion about how crazy equates to love. So while all that's going on, Nikki's starting to have a conflict in a mindset, because she she was in a relationship with Evan, but now she's growing feelings for his cousin, which is kind of all kinds of Maury Povich situation. And but things are going good. And then and as much as she was, downplaying and criticizing Quincy's book, she actually bought the thing and reading it because she wanted to use it to break up with Evan. And one of the chapters is about like sulking, where you're just like, and of course the significant other would naturally ask, babe, what's wrong? Oh, you go, nothing. Baby, something's gotta be wrong. No, it's nothing. Come on, tell me. Well, if you must know, I want to break up with you. This little strategy in order to like, just psychologically, kind of confuse the other person. Kind of the same thing as you brought about, like, changing the outgoing messaging. Of course, we saw like answer machines and stuff like that, but you still got your phone, so you can still, because people who you've broken up with will try to call your phone just to hear your voice from the answering machine or the outgoing message thing. So you change it to the automated thing they supply you when you get your phone. Now it's kind of like it messes with them at that point. Same, it's psychological. He did his research to build this book. Once Evan shows up, because he's planning on breaking up with her, she is trying to use the same tools Quincy came up with to break up with him. Then it all becomes like a big thing because they don't sit there and talk because they're they're acting like children. And it's like, because even though she brought up like, I wanted to talk about my hair, I didn't want to break up with you in the first place because I wanted to keep you. Of course, he ain't trying to hear it until she brought up that she met somebody else. Now, kind of typical fasting, we're human. He gets in his feelings because men get territorial, and now he's like jealous, obviously, that she's seeing somebody else. And so, as he's talking about this with Quincy, he brings up the fact that she cut her hair, and she says she, talking about she looked like Halle Berry. And it's all kind of running together to Quincy, like, oh my God, I end up hooking up with my cousin's girlfriend. And so Quincy and Nikki finally meet up and finally hash it out, like, and she had another to be, tipped at him, but, she instigated the lie. She started, technically, if you go back to the bar, she already knew who he looked like and who he was. He did not have no clue about her. No evidence beyond the name and long hair. So she should have, like, from the jump, told him what's up and blah 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 blah. But he initially wants to just like stop all this because this is cousins. Like, I can't do this. It's not right. But then they, feelings, and they catch feelings very fast again, and things really spiral between Rita and Evan because they still have having this fling, and realizing one morning that this ain't no groupie, this is his boss, because they work at the same company. His boss is girlfriend, which I'm surprised at no point, and it's just like with Nikki, I'm surprised at no point, as I don't know how many times this woman showed up at this company, nobody recognized who Rita looked like. And that is bizarre to me. There's all these crazy misunderstandings, or I mean, sure, how many times do you see like your boss's significant other waltz in you're just on the day you happen to be at work? The odds are very minimal, but I don't know, it just seems like I wouldn't say far-fetched, but come on, it's beyond coincidental. That's all I'm saying. But he gets fidgety uh, but he still want to play at it. But then he goes to Quincy, just out of blue, bought a engagement ring, just to plan on proposing to Nikki. And it's like Quincy's taken aback because it's so out of pocket for Evan, because he doesn't get this way for a lot of women, but of course he is doing it obviously because it's all the whole territorial thing. It's like, I want her, but I'm pretty sure he'll eventually get tired and cut things off. He's making these gigantic gestures just in order to keep her, which is not a good way to have like a serious relationship as something as marriage. It's like, in order to keep the relationship strong, have a baby. That's not something you do. That's very irresponsible and not beneficial in the long run at all. But all at the same time, that's when Helen shows back up, because on the plane ride home, she ended up reading Quincy's book and everything like that, and got the nerve to be tearing up over it. And so they go to this party where they plan on, I'm pretty sure it was like Quincy's birthday party. They plan on like Quincy, Evan planned on announcing his engagement there, and everybody's convening, and he's trying to come clean to his cousin about the whole situation. And right after everybody stops singing happy birthday, he tells me like, I'm in love with Nikki. And then the right bullet is always stuck with me. Right after he blows out the candles, he ends up getting hit in the face, by his cousin. And then his cousin just takes off out of disgust. And that's when like Philip, his boss, realized that, oh, you've been like sabotaging me for breaking up with my girlfriend, with all at the same time you was trying to hook up with her, not realizing that Evan's been pretending to be Quincy this whole time. So trying to Helen's trying to get back with him. He cuts it off with her. He goes to try to make things right with his cousin, but realizing that it's kind of resolved very fast. He realized that he and Rita are together because she fell in love with him because of the way he just manipulated her, because she spent her whole life manipulating others because she's like street smart or whatever, but she's for the streets. Not, there's less street smart and more for the street. And so Quincy goes off to find Nikki, finds out she's at this train station on her way to Portland. He runs to her, and it's one of those kind of things. Not like, it's kind of like the same thing with like most romantic movies where like the guy goes to the airport to profess his love to this girl. In this moment, it's like a train station, and he trying to tell her he's really in love with her. And she has her doubts until she sees him actually bite through his own hand and is bleeding, and to show that he actually is honest about what he's saying. And of course, it ends with them like reconciling and everything like that. Now it's very dramatic, obviously. Is one hell of a way to prove your love to somebody. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, he does have to take some responsibility on things on his part, especially after he found out what was going on, because he was in the dark up until the point when Evan brought up other things about her. But he had that moment to actually come clean and do a full stop on this whole entire thing. She's a little bit more at fault because she knew way from the jump and decided to manipulate the situation God knows why, more so just to find out, like, what's up with her boyfriend at the time and why he's acting sketchy. But it's still like a fun movie, and it's a nice. You can have like a nice little dialogue about like the ways of breaking up with somebody, how you broken up with somebody in your past, like, or if you was broken up with, like, was it cordial, how it was handled, how it would have been better handled, that kind of thing. But yeah, breaking all the rules. It's free on Amazon Prime if you got that, and you can check it out for yourself. But yeah, it was a very early 2000. This is 2004. It's a nice little, I won't say a time capsule, but it's like fun to revisit, like early 2000s kind of era with certain fashion styles of the time. Things like FUBU and Sanjan kind of era of styles. And cool young-ish Jimmy Fox was like, I'm pretty sure he was probably in his 30s-ish at that time. But and a young Gabrielle Union, way before she met up with Dwayne Wade and all this other stuff with her kids and everything like that. Very early days. And Morris Chestnut, oh my God, this dude have not aged. Is the whole thing about like women having a shelf life. Guys don't actually get better until they actually work on themselves, physically, financially, and by the time they hit mid to late 20s and on up, they just get better like fine wine and more appealing. While they in their young teen stages, they have nothing much going for themselves, for the most part, they really hit that stride. And then it's like, you blew off Little Barry, in high school because, he was like a lame and everything like that at the time. But as soon as, he worked on himself and, went to college and stuff like that, now he's like, a fancy lawyer and, he got, nice clothes and he's very fit and takes care of himself and everything like that. And now the same girls who kind of brushed him off back in high school probably got baby mama drama and all this baggage and stuff like that. And it's like a lot of you girls need to teach these younger girls not to make those same mistakes, so that those so-called lames you kind of brush off. You need to focus on them because they, by and large, are probably the ones that is going to do you right by, in the long run. As you got to think about the long run. But anyway, if you've seen this movie, all right, well, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Come back. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. How you would have broken up with somebody. Is the rules that was given to us from what we understand about the outgoing message, breaking up at the person's place and not your place, the sulking, another rule like the bullet straight to the head, where it's like you drain all the emotion out of your face. You go to someplace like a bank or something with security and you just say like, hey, it's over. And you bounce, that kind of thing. What little that is spoon-fed to us throughout the film, do you agree? Because it sounds, to this day, it sounds very, like I said, it's not exact science, but it's, he points out like, the book is not exact science either. I'm glad he pointed that out. But each one of those things sounds, very, astute. So I'm not sure, like you let me know what you think. And yeah, I got another movie I would like to have a talk. Something I've been sitting on for at least a couple of years now. I finally want to get to it. I figure it's good to cover it for the Valentine's Day month. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Take care.